we are going to do things a little bit differently from the last couple of occasions, just a bit give an extra feel for the sessions. I'm going to very briefly go through some of your more recent games.
Yep.
And I'm only going to pause at some main junctions where I need to speak up. This is one of them. Because whilst bishop f5 here is a very logical move, we discussed that we are going to play bishop g4 with the idea of queen here and castles.
We did, and you said that a bunch of times.
Yes, I did. I don't know what happened, Dominic, but I'm not hearing you as clearly as before. Did you move the mic away, or did I turn my mic down? No, I didn't.
I haven't made any changes.
Yeah, now it's 10 times better. Okay, cool. So probably I was in La La Land. So yeah, bishop g4. Remember to stick in f6 if the queen is out of the pin, so knight e5 is not annoying us. And then queen d7 and castles. The problem with bishop f5 is that more often than not, when they take it and you take back after something like a check here, you will have to interpose with a piece that has already been developed.
Yep.
And we are wasting precious tempos there, so that's the issue with this, and that's exactly what happened in the game.
Yep.
So you drop that dude back. And now a6 is arguable whether it was necessary or not. In fact, what you could have done here, and this is very important, Dominic, for later, is that remember that you're always playing chess, not openings that I taught you. Yep. What I mean by this is that you should always be ready to jump out of what you think is the right opening move because I said so, and identify motives like, oh, actually, I just take this thing, and then I'm going to castle here, and then now he has got this pawn structure with a disgusting double pawns, a disgusting backward pawn, and a beautiful outpost for my knight that is one jump away.
Yep.
And positionally speaking, you are a zillion miles ahead here. So it is already not looking anything like what we discussed because you had to draw back with the knight. We don't have the pin. We don't have the f6 g5 attack. So you are more than welcome to think freely for yourself, because sometimes you need to overwrite what I tell you to do when circumstances change, and they certainly have changed, although you may not have noticed that.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so a6 back, queen d7, so now we're back to normal-ish. f6, that was good. Now, why did we play f6?
I was wanting to play g5.
Very good. So I got really puzzled when I saw, well,
yeah,
this in the first place.
Mm.
But why wouldn't you play g5 if that's the plan?
I thought that my kingside attack here was too slow compared to his, and that I'd have to play in the middle instead of on the kingside.
Well, you are not necessarily wrong about that, but there was again a motive that you missed entirely that would have helped you to hold up this attack. I will talk about that when we get there. So we played rook e8, knight here, rook there. I really don't understand this move. Can you please enlighten me about this?
Yeah, I wanted to play f5, f4, and then play knight up to f5 was the basic plan.
Okay, so I've got a number of problems with that. Number one is that f5 creates a giant hole here, which at the moment is a theoretical point really, because practically I can't exploit it, but we don't like to play such moves.
Yep.
In general, a gentle reminder that you played f6 2 moves ago.
Yep.
So now having the plan of playing f5 feels a bit like we're smacking ourselves in the face, yeah?
Agree.
And third, if your plan is f5, I don't understand why you don't play f5. This seems to be still a recurring problem in your games, that you keep on preparing moves that don't need to be prepared. Like, I don't understand how you explain it to yourself that you play rook f8 because we want to play f5 when f5 is totally executable. And so is f4 afterwards because the bishop is already covering it.
The other thing I was thinking is that, as I mentioned just before, that I thought the play was going to be in the middle, so I thought centralizing the rooks might also be better.
I understand what you're saying, but my point is that no, this rook is not going to stand here any better than here.
Okay.
Because the f-file is never going to be open. They are not going to take anything on the f-file, so this is really a waste of a move. And considering that you are being hacked on the king side, sorry, on your queen side, coincidentally your king is there now, but it's the queen side, you don't have time to waste. Every move is crucially precious to you, and in fact, you still could have and should have played g5 and h5, but I will get to that in a second. So now he played queen d3. Now see, he is wasting precious time here too, because instead of hacking you here, he's playing unnecessary move after unnecessary move. So if you imagine that instead of already coming here, you play g5, he plays... I'm just playing the same moves that he would have, or seemingly he was gonna play. I think it's fairly clear to us whose attack is going to break through here.
Yep.
Right, so this came about, and this is the main issue. Here, your only chance to dodge this attack is to keep files closed. Any pawn capture that you make is going to make you stand worse. So, knight a5, pawn takes a6, b6.
Ooh, okay.
Totally locked up. Takes forever to crack this open again for white. Especially if you play well. Yep. I mean, okay, granted c4 is a very obvious plan here, but if we had played a few better moves previously rather than this and this and this, and you imagine that instead of any of these moves, you could have a queen on c6 to dodge this, it's ridiculously difficult to crack this up.
Yeah.
And this is stock standard defending procedure against pawn storms, that you don't open up files onto your king. Like here, you're just dead. Because you can't contest this. Okay, c4. You took it, which seems to be a bit accelerating your death. Takes 90. Yeah, this is no fun from here anymore. Yeah. So the problem was really that we basically lost the game here without firing a single shot, which is always a way to lose a game that makes you feel really bad about it, because it feels like you just got outclassed.
Actually, I should let you know, this guy, just after the game, I got noticed that he was a cheater, and he's been banned, and I got my points back from this game. But
well, that's pleasant news. That said, I can guarantee you that he didn't cheat in this game, or if he did, then he was using some appalling engines, because as you can see, his moves are not even justified by the computer. Well, many of them aren't, or wouldn't be classified as best, like 93 here. Looks sweet, so does queen d3, so I wasn't overly impressed with his play, but yeah, it's good to know that at least the points are where they belong. So yeah, remember this place that we are playing for bishop g4 here in the first place, because that's how we roll, and then queen d7 f6, and then you keep on hacking like crazy. Like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on your games, and yet here I am. I just wanted to point out a couple of biggies. Yeah, dragon wise, although I did not give you a file on this, I'm going to. If you castle here, which might very well be the line that we are going to learn against the dragon, you need to know really, really badly that in this position, you can't take this pawn here. Okay? So the way how you treat it from here is you take the knight, but you don't take this one. The idea here is that you play bishop d4 with the idea of neutralizing this very strong bishop that is not only a defender, but a super duper strong attacker against your king. They can't possibly afford the swap of that bishop. So they must play e5, and then you switch the bishop to c5, hassling the rook and preparing for coming in here. And this is a very strange scenario, because black can't really attack you now on the queen side where your king is, because you will have so many pieces, knight here, bishop here, the other bishop there. It's near impossible. But on the other hand, they will have a lot stronger central presence than you do. And so it's a very strange scenario, but one of the main lines in the Sicilian Dragon, and I'm more than happy to dig a little bit deeper into that theory of that later on. Now, if you take and do that, the problem is that after queen c7, you can't take this rook because of bishop f5, and after takes, they have got a humongous initiative due to both of the bishops targeting you like there was no tomorrow. So that's the issue here, and if you can't take here, then the two files onto your king have already been opened, and that will definitely be used to a significant effect. Okay, so taking this is horrendously dumb, but I'm not here to criticize your opponent's moves. Queen b7 simply followed by rook here, and you will have a hell of a job to survive this. And taking on a2, my god. Okay, so first and foremost, you could have taken this, which I think would have been an easier way to clarify the situation. Because if they play rook b8, they expose themselves to this. So all you need to do is to cover up this, which you can do by b3 or even bishop back. And you are very clearly a pawn to the good for no counterplay whatsoever. Okay, now you decided to trap the bishop in, which is okay, but now you have to play with extra care, because if a rook pops up here creating a pin, then the bishop will always escape. Yep. For which reason this is again utterly dumb and stupid. They should have played here rook here, bishop here, and then bishop takes, and all your advantage is gone. In fact, you are clearly worse here. Okay, so rook e8, bishop e4. What I would have done here as white is to play bishop here, to make sure that this is guarded, and then drop the bishop back here, neutralizing the diagonal, and then trap the bishop. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a much better plan than what happened.
Yeah, and even the fastest escape plan for black is not sufficient to save that bishop. It's stuck here forever. Takes. And yes, I can't take it because it's guarded, but after a swap, I will just come here and take your bishop. Thank you very much. So you should have been more focused here on this target. Bishop e4 is not really adding anything to your position. You're forcing him to play a developing move. So that doesn't really make much sense to me. And I have a bad feeling that you totally blundered into this. Mind you didn't really have a choice anymore. But actually you did, because if I had a choice between taking this or playing b4, I would have played b4. Although a5 is a bit a5 is a bit annoying, but then again you can probably start to be annoying with your bishops. Yeah, I don't know, it's already messy. Bishop e4 was really an unnecessary move, and you are paying the price for it now. Okay. Alright, now I don't understand this, because you have got fewer pawns here, right? So if you want to win it, technically your only decent plan is to get this there.
Okay.
So you have got nothing whatsoever to do on the other side. I also very heavily dislike this move because it shuts your bishop in.
Yeah, I realized as soon as I played it that it was a terrible move, and I think that's why I blundered the next move as well.
Yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. Yeah, I mean, time was probably scarce by this time, but...
It was a 5-minute game, yeah, that wasn't a good game.
Yeah, there were definite issues there. Okay, last one. Oh, facing the Mac kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, remember to play queen g4 here.
Yep.
It is super duper important.
After this game I looked it up, it's queen g4 and then bishop d3.
Yes, and f4 here, oh, I'm afraid we are not going to get there, so probably developing would have been more to the point at this stage. Because really, your e5 pawn is not going to be contested.
Yep. It's
d4, and yeah, I'm afraid, long story short, we won't have time for what you're trying to do. Didn't you just blunder a pawn here now?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that's the problem here.
Yep.
Okay, you have to be a bit more careful, and c4 here is a move that would not have occurred to me. So basically what you want to do now, Dominic, is, and this is something that should have occurred to you, is that, okay, we lost a pawn. What is the last thing we want to do?
Trade off stuff.
Yeah, more to the point, trade off what? What is it that you really don't want to trade off?
The piece that I just traded with the queen, I guess.
Bingo! You don't want to trade queens, because queen is the name of the game when it comes to hoping for counterplay. Guess what you did? Bang!
Yep.
Queen's gone. No chances to win whatsoever. So now what you do is you just let it go. I would play here rook b1 in a heartbeat. And just act like it was a gambit. Oh, I knew that was hanging. That's the plan all the way. And if they take queen f... Oh, actually, yeah, queen f2. Rook b1 already pays off because they can't play queen b6. Bishop
Yep.
can't develop because of the pressure. And my next move is going to be queen g3. And I'm building some sort of initiative.
Yep.
It's rather laughable, but trust me, you would win far more games from this position if you played against this dude 10 games in a row. You would win far more than after c4, because my guess would be that if you play this game from this dude 10 times after c4, you would lose all the 10. Whereas after rook b1, in that line that I just showed you, I can guarantee you that out of 10 games from here, you would win at least 3. Especially considering that you are actually quite good, and that's the other reason why I'm a bit disappointed to see moves like c4. You are a talented attacker, and that's where you shine, when you have the initiative and when you can, you know, go forward and cause trouble. And you just surrendered all of it when it was totally unnecessary. I really don't want to get into the rest of it. Yeah, there is no point in wasting too much time on that one. And that was all I wanted to see. Now, I did see, Domenic, a couple of games where you played the Caro-Kann, and it seemed to be a bit of a struggle. And because of the Caro-Kann is an opening that we haven't really spent any time on yet, and it is a very important structure that I wanted to go through with you, I decided that what we are going to do today is that I'm going to teach you a line in the Caro-Kann that is super duper important for us. More importantly, from a general chess knowledge point of view than actual openings. So the way how I like to learn openings is when we are not memorizing lines, but we are playing through the line and having a look at the motifs. Okay, so I would like us to play against the Caro-Kann. I was thinking about playing the knight c3 main lines, but eventually I decided to go for the Panov because I realized that there is not probably one opening in your repertoire where we are playing either against or with an isolated queen pawn, and that's a very important part of chess. So that I would like to expose you to a variety of pawn structures, and so this choice seems to be one of the best. Now in this position, it's called, by the way, the Panov attack that we're looking at here. After c4, knight f6, knight c3, black has got e6, knight c6 and g6, and they are 3 totally different variations. There is a huge number of ways to transpose into positions like this. For example, this is more commonly occurring, this position, from the Nimzo-Indian and the semi-Tarrasch rather than from the Caro-Kann, but that's a little bit beside the point. So our starting point is this. We play rook e1, and in this position black has got a lot of moves. Bishop f6, a6 and knight takes c3 are the most topical moves. You can see that white has got more space and freer play, but at the same time we are stuck with the pawn on d4. Now let's go one by one. a6 is a move that aims to develop the bishop to b7 after playing b5. Okay, actually what they want to do is that they want to take this knight first, transposing the pawn structure into hanging pawns, which is still a weakness technically in an endgame, because both of these pawns, from black's point of view, if you imagine that you are black, if we swap off everything except for the 4 rooks, one rook standing here and another one here, they can both attack black and white pawns that are vulnerable. Okay, so hence this is still a weakness, and now they want to fix it with b5, and in fact that's what they just did. Alright, now I'm going to switch to training mode because I'll ask questions. Bishop c2, what do you think is the plan with bishop c2?
Maybe queen d3.
Very good. So as you can see, there is a knight missing from f6 that is traditionally there. And as a result, it's obvious that we need to attack on the king side. What also indicates that we should be playing on that side of the board is because our pawn chain is pointing that way. Yeah, alright, so bishop d7. And there are 2 moves here that are equally good. Queen d3 and h4. I wanted to show you this h4 variation because it's super duper cool. The idea is that you would like to support knight g5, forcing further weakening moves. And you also want them to take this pawn. In fact, we are trying to tempt them to take that pawn. What do you think is the follow-up after taking that pawn? There is no immediate win here, so don't look for, you know, wins or something very drastic.
Well, you've got a chance to play rook e4 with tempo, but it does put it in the line of the bishop's fire. So
that's right. The rook lift is part of the plan, but not the way how you thought it was. So try to think about a more productive and more aggressive way of doing that rook lift. Traditionally, Dominic, we don't do rook lifts on the 4th. That's my hint to you.
Did you take the bishop with the knight and then go for the rook lift on the 3rd?
Very good. Knight takes bishop, queen takes knight, and rook e3. And now we have got an awful lot of very dirty threats that are based on rook here or rook here, depending on what they do. Traditionally, they play g6 in this position, where actually the best idea, I believe from memory, is to play the rook to g3, not to h3, threatening to trap the queen with bishop g5. And after something like queen f6, bishop g5, queen g7, queen d2, these dark squares are chronically weak.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, I didn't say white was winning. Okay, what I said was that these squares are chronically weak and we can build a powerful attack around that. It's not more than that, but that's good enough.
Yep.
Okay, obviously h6 is looking very dodgy because after something like rook h3, queen f6, queen d3, we are still threatening with very annoying stuff and the pawn now can't move anymore because h6 would hang.
Yep.
Most players tend not to take h4. A computer probably would. Bishop f6 is stock standard. Knight g5, g6. How would you continue building the attack now, Dominic?
I want to play h5, but I can't yet. So maybe queen to g4.
Very good. Queen g4 indeed. And our stock standard attacking procedure is going to be h5. Alright, if they play h5, what do you think the downside of this move is?
I think it's further weakened their king side a little bit.
That's right. So after we drop back to g3, can you tell me a tactical motive that you would be looking at doing?
Possibly even knight takes e6.
Very good. That's definitely our method of murdering them. So knight takes e6 and then queen takes g6 check, and checkmate is going to be inevitable there. Good. Knight e7.
Yep.
What to do, what to do? The idea with knight e7 is obviously double intentions. Number one, it covers g6. Number two, it wants to jump to f5 to completely neutralize the power of the c2 bishop. And if knight f5 were to happen, that would be the first time when I would feel rather sad in this game as a white. So we need to do something aggro, if it wasn't obvious enough that that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So again, I'm looking at the e6 square. Maybe rook takes this time. Although I haven't calculated it all. Rook takes, pawn takes, knight takes.
Yeah, queen d5.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, that's not good enough. How about if you take with the other dude?
Knight takes. Knight takes, pawn takes. Rook takes.
Bear with me. Can't we take something else instead?
Knight takes, pawn takes. Oh yeah, maybe we could do bishop takes g6.
Yep.
Which is quite nice. Then knight takes bishop would fall to queen takes knight.
Bishop g7.
Then bishop h6.
Queen d7.
Sorry, I lost it. I need to start again.
All right, go for it.
Okay. So knight takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, knight takes, queen takes, bishop g7, bishop h6, queen d7.
I just would like to eat one more move because I'm that kind of nasty dude.
It's fine, but it's a bit tricky.
And also, what I'm doing by this is that I'm trying to force you to be able to visualize positions that are quite a few moves ahead. Can you take anything for free?
Free.
Yeah.
I can't take the bishop with my bishop because your queen's protecting it.
Yeah, well, you can, but it's not free.
It's not free, yeah.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Pretty much everything else, Domenic, is free to take. So you are missing rook takes e6, which is by far the most obvious one.
Okay.
And you're also missing queen h5, but I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I don't know why rook e6 was out of your vision.
Because queen's on d7, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the queen has to stay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the queen has to stay on the 7th rank. I didn't see that.
Well, it's guarded by the g6 queen too, by the way, so you seem to not visualize a lot of things now. So I will play this line out for you just because it seems that there is a very big blur in your head at the moment.
It is very blurry.
So yeah, that's it. Now, I would like to go back to one thing. Did I ask you to do me some puzzles, mate 3s, mate 4s?
Yeah. I've done, I think, all of the mate 4s and a bunch of the mate 3s.
Good. I'm going to have a look at those solutions today. I hope that you wrote them down.
I did actually. Let me. Yeah.
Good. Oh, no, don't worry about that now. I would like to continue with this for the time being, but because doing those will help you to most to be able to visualize things like this.
Yep.
And to be perfectly honest, we didn't go further into it than 4 moves, did we? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5. But yeah, so we are gradually getting there. Okay, so that's actually a doable variation here, and I believe it's quite strong. They didn't do it. What they did do instead was that they wanted to prevent this knight from entering the fray here by playing bishop a3. Remember this motif, please. Very stock standard in this line, when that most people think that the bishop on c1 is just a bystander, but often you find that because of it covers so many squares on the diagonal here, it's essentially developed. The only reason why we don't really like it here, because it prevents your rook to come and join the game. But now another advantage of keeping it back on c1 for so long is that we can actually get out this way.
Yep.
Okay, rook e8, and needless to say that now the fireworks will begin too, so you tell me how we'll finish this business off now.
Okay. Again, I want to go with knight takes pawn.
Okay, and sadly it's over already. Yeah.
Okay.
Like my line doesn't run any further than that. But yeah, the idea, of course, is that we are going to destroy them on e6 and g6. And in fact, now the position is so good that potentially I could imagine that after takes, rook takes is best. Simply because now the f6 bishop is not guarded.
Yep.
And that will give you a beautiful opportunity to bring all the dudes to the party, like I always tell you to.
Yep.
Okay, so this is just a bit of a mouth-watering variation for you to see how this all works out. Let me see if I missed any variations. So h4, bishop f6, knight g5, g6. Okay, rook c8. What do we do? Can you tell me please what rook c8 is doing other than playing a seemingly obvious developing move?
It looks like it's attacking the bishop, because knight takes pawn is a threat.
Okay, so yeah, it's attacking basically. It's creating a pin on the c3 pawn, so knight takes d4 is a pending threat.
Yep.
Okay, what do we do? Since you are, Domenic, a very talented attacker, anytime when such a situation arises, the first question is, do I care?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, is it h5 or knight takes e6 again? Is what I was wondering.
Yeah, after knight e6, f takes e6, I don't see how you want to continue this attack.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's go h5.
Yep.
Mind you, you can't possibly enter this without calculating consequences. So sadly, I will put you to the test, and I will have to ask you right now what your move is gonna be after h5, knight takes d4. Because life tends to be very cruel this way.
Okay, let's try. H takes g.
Continue, please.
Knight takes c2.
Okay, well... No, I don't want to say anything because what you're doing is very logical, so continue, please.
But knight c2 looks like it's very dangerous because then I've got...
I agree with you, it's downright losing, but unless you see how...
Maybe pawn takes h7.
Yeah, king h8.
King h8.
Heads up to you, when I'm covering the dark squares and you take me on h7 with a pawn and I tuck my king behind,
not good.
Every chance we went wrong.
So instead of pawn takes h7, let's try knight takes h7.
Okay, f6 seems to be guarded to me. Am I missing something?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm playing h5, knight takes pawn, h takes g, knight takes c2, and then looks like there has to be something here.
It's a mate in 3.
Huh.
I don't want to make you feel bad.
If it's a mate in 3 from there, okay.
The reason why you're struggling with it is because the first move is not a checking move.
Okay, queen h3.
3. Why 3?
Why 3? Actually, yeah, because that loses the knight. So h5.
Well, it doesn't lose the knight because after bishop takes you still have mate. I just don't really understand that when we are viciously attacking our enemy king, why are we going backwards? Once again, it's rather just a rhetorical question than a relevant one because both win, but I just gut feeling is I'm opposing any backward moves when you can go forward. And also I'm afraid that half of the reason why you went here and not there, because in your head this pawn is still here, which is exactly what I am fighting against with all my might.
Yeah, I was looking at it on the screen and yeah, okay, so h5 is much nicer.
Yes, and now I can't stop mate. So that's exactly how knight takes c2 plays out, that after queen h5 it's gonna be forced mate. Can't stop it anymore. Right, so question number 2 is that what will we do if after knight takes d4, pawn takes g6, they take back with the h.
I still can't take the knight, the bishop hanging. Defend against the threat.
Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, so the defend. Yeah, I'm still thinking. I don't have a good answer yet.
Okay, well that's good. Thinking is a good answer.
Okay. I'm not sure if it works. I'm looking at knight takes e6.
Isn't my knight on d4 covering that?
It is. Yeah, sorry. Doesn't work.
I mean, what you're trying to do is not illogical, but that would not be necessarily the first move I would pick in that position, because there is a very obvious way to continue the attack, which doesn't seem to be that obvious to you. But that's alright, we'll get there.
Okay. No, that doesn't work either.
Speak up. What would you like to do?
I was looking at trying to put the queen on the h file again.
What's wrong with it?
H4 works. Queen h4.
Continue, please.
Yep. Okay.
Did I lose you, or you're struggling to find a move for black?
I'm struggling to find black's move here.
Well, can I do anything else than bishop takes g5? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still thinking. If that's the only move, then you just take the bishop, I think.
Yeah, of course, but what else could I do? I mean, mate in 1 is threatened.
Okay.
There's no possible way that I can counter that other than, you know, giving meaningless checks. I have to take the knight. Okay, bishop takes back, pawn f6, your turn.
Yeah, I've lost it all again. I need to start from scratch.
I knew you did. That was my intention, to try to take you to the woods. Yeah, you every time you lose it, you must start from scratch, because otherwise you will definitely have a piece in your mind on the wrong square. So start it from scratch.
Okay, so sorry, in this position, was it white to move or black to move right from the start?
I don't remember. Sorry.
I think
It's
it was.
it's your game.
It's my game.
Sorry, I have to be a douche. It's your interest.
That's fine. No, I actually said on the screen h5. Okay, so knight takes d4.
Yep.
H takes g. H takes g.
Yep.
Queen h4. Bishop takes g5.
Yep.
I can take with either. Queen takes. Oh, sorry, no. Let's do bishop takes g5.
I didn't hear that comment about saying I could take with either, because that gave me a heart attack there.
You don't want me to turn off my queens, of course.
Well, given that your bishop on c2 is hanging, that will be followed up by the fork on both rooks. I figure a queen swap is probably not on the menu.
Yeah, it's not.
Plus, we are again having a raging attack, so I would rather chop off my hand than putting that queen anywhere. Potential swaps. So yeah, bishop g5, f6 was my move as black.
f6, okay.
I just want to squeeze one more correct move out of you, and then I will give you the win.
With f6, you left the e6 pawn hanging, but my bishop is attacked. So I was thinking.
May I very kindly correct you on that one? You keep on blundering into this. The e6 pawn is guarded by d4 knight.
Oh, damn! Yep. Okay.
So it is actually not hanging.
Yep, not hanging. So at the moment, my bishop on g5 is attacked by f6.
Yes.
and I can move my bishop to h6, but I don't see what to do after rook e8.
I don't understand what you're talking about at all, because after bishop h6, I will take you on bishop on c2. Why would I bother about the f8 rook?
Hmm. Ah. Like, yeah, okay, so maybe bishop back to d2. No, that's hanging. No, it's not hanging. Man, I'm losing it.
Yeah, hardcore losing it. So I'm very glad we did this, Dominic, because we definitely found a major flaw in your chess now, which is that comparing to your playing strength, you are not visualizing positions well enough, but we are going to work on it. So you are missing very, very basic stuff, such as you keep on missing the fact that this knight is covering that, as well as the fact that it's hitting here. Okay, after f6, all I wanted to hear was bishop takes g6, mate threat, we win.
Yep.
Because regardless of how they defend the knight, you're free to move the bishop wherever you want. His knight is hanging now, his king is a disaster, and so on. Instead, we went into random moves. I'm just playing out now the ones that you suggested. You see how they are not really fitting the scheme, the scheme that we're trying to do here, which is relentless attack.
Yeah, I was really having trouble visualizing the board after those first moves.
Yep. Mind you, I didn't even go into this line as deeply as in the previous case. But one way to practice it is to do it. But for two things, it feels very, very tedious and painful to do, especially when I'm giving you grief. And it's not exactly something that gives you a lot of self-confidence, because every time you feel like you're failing. But the only way to overcome it is to practice it all the time. Now, I give you a piece of advice that is going to help you to do a level easier ones, to do them with confidence, and that is that when you play your game,
Yep.
and you are having a position like this, and you start to think in your head, instead of doing I go there, they go here, I go there, they go here, you call out the actual moves. Because that way you are engraving into your mind where the pieces are.
Okay.
So if you, instead of saying I go there, you say h takes g6, by default, your brain takes note of the fact that now there is a white pawn on g6. Likewise, then you go, instead of they take me, you go h takes g6, or sorry, knight takes d4, h takes g6, and all of a sudden you know that the knight is on d4 because you just called it there and then.
Yeah, good point. I never even tried that.
Okay, so you really have to talk to yourself. Obviously, you can't call it out loud. When you are playing against somebody online, you can. And in fact, I would tend to do that every now and then, although we are always trying to fake competition circumstances at all times. But it's a tool that you can eventually drop, and you just talk it inside and talk inside your head. But it helps a lot because it allows you to have that extra tool that your brain takes notes of what's where. Okay, so right, so we managed to dodge h takes g6 as well, so the only variation left is f takes. How do we go about this, Dominic? This is going to be, the last exercise for the time being.
Again, looking at queen h4 because it creates a threat. So after that, presume bishop takes g5.
All right, that seems to make a lot of sense to me too. Can I just highlight to you one very important difference?
Yep.
And that is that when I take with the f, the number of ways how I can dodge this threat is infinitely more than when I take with the h. Because now whatever I chuck on the 7th is going to defend that mate forever.
Yes, yep.
Yeah? So instantly, and by the way, I sort of went against my own principles in this variation a couple of times, because I encouraged you not to look at checks, captures, and threats in this particular order. Like, remember that in this case, knight takes c2, none of the checks and none of the captures led to mate, it was the threat. But that doesn't mean that you should and could change the order of these operations, because they don't stop being the most forcing in that order. They are the most forcing in that particular order, and therefore when something like this happens, that f takes g6 occurs, you immediately switch back again into our stock standard order, which is checks, captures, and threats.
Okay.
And having failed with all the checks without even trying, you automatically go on to captures, not threats. That's not to say that this is not the best. It's actually not. But it's to say that the rules don't change just because in some cases they didn't necessarily work out best that way.
Yep. And so based on the massive hint you've just given me, I'm now looking at knight takes e6. And in which case he can play
Queen d7.
d7.
If you ask me, Dominic, is this the most thematic capture considering what we have been trying to do?
The other captures are...
Let's just... knight takes a7, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't compare this to that, considering that our main aim in this game is to checkmate the heck out of that king.
Okay.
This positively helps the defense. Because it allows me, in fact it forces me to bring the queen into the defense, cover everything on the 7th, and create a super annoying pin on you, whereas knight takes h7 continues shattering the king's defense into smaller and smaller bits. Okay, talk to me.
Yep. Queen takes g6.
Keep on rolling, please.
Bishop to g7.
Don't stop.
He can't play, in the last move, instead of bishop g7, he can't play king h8, can he?
You actually can, but I'm very glad you brought up bishop g7.
Okay.
So let's go one by one.
Okay, so queen takes g6, bishop g7. Bishop to h6. Rook f7, or maybe even rook c7, or hang on. There's a lot of defenders that can come in.
Okay, let's just go with rook c7. I'm cool with that.
Okay. I'm just gonna have to go back to the start again. Bishop takes g6, bishop g7.
That's a queen takes g6, but yep.
Sorry. Queen takes g6, bishop g7, bishop h6, rook f7. I can't do knight takes f6 because queen takes knight.
Can I just say that there is nothing on f6? So I don't know what you want to take on f6.
Yeah, sorry. I can't play that anyway because the queen's covering the square.
Yep. Plus, I don't really see what you would do against king f8 either.
There's got to be something here, but I keep losing the position every couple of seconds.
Keep going back to it then. I can't give you a better advice than that. That's how I would do it, and that's how I do it actually. I do lose them all the time too, especially when there is an annoying dude in the other end of the line talking to me all the time.
Okay, queen takes g6, bishop g7, bishop h6, rook f7. I'm looking at rook takes e6, but I don't see what the threat is.
Neither do I, so let's ditch this rook e6 side. Yeah, there is a strong move here that I'm afraid is not sufficient to win, but it will give you a hint about how we should finish this attack off. Out of your 3 attackers, which one would you rate as the most useless on the top right corner of the board?
Yeah, so knight could potentially go back to g5, which attacks the rook, but he can just move the rook to a number of other squares.
That's where things are going to get a bit dicey. Any rook move would lose actually by force, but this is where I think we sort of reaching the limit of your calculating ability.
Okay.
But I would like to put you to the test.
Yep.
So now I will take over after knight g5. Have you got the position in front of you?
I've got it roughly. Yep.
Roughly is not good enough. You either have it or you don't. If
Yeah,
you
because
don't,
queen's on g6.
Yep.
Bishop's on h6. Oh, sorry, the white bishop is on h6, and the black bishop is on g7.
Very good. So if the rook goes to, let's just for the arguments take side with e7 because that will end in a beautiful checkmate. Queen h7 check. You with me?
Yep.
King f8.
Yep.
Queen h8 checkmate.
Because the rook's blocking his escape square on e7. Okay.
Correct. And the bishop is pinned to my bishop. I hope you noticed that.
Yes, now that you mention it.
Okay, that wasn't too convincing, but right. So yes, that's the main motive here, that my bishop is pinning the bishop on g6 to the king on f8.
Yep.
Right, so now let's swing the rook further on the 7th so that the king's path is not going to be blocked. Okay. So let's go to d7, same variation. Queen h7 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king can go to e7. However, now I can take the bishop with a check. Queen takes g7 check, the king has to go to d6.
Yep.
You still with me?
Yep. Can you play rook d1?
Rook d1 check. And if you feel like you are getting lost in the jungle now, you can comfortably stop here, because more than likely we will be able to clear the queen away from g7 with a check, where it's under attack currently by the rook on d7, and then continue this raging attack. Okay, so you can comfortably call it off there, because now we don't have anything major hanging. I mean, he's in check, so you can always run away. We have already taken a lot of stuff. There's still a lot hanging. No way that won't be successful. However, to cut the story a little bit short, the point I'm trying to make is that after queen takes bishop h6, rook f7, knight g5, I didn't really find a way to win after queen e8. But I may be wrong because rook e6 is on. The other concern I had would be maybe something like the rook here. But again, after knight g5, we may be able to win it. Another motive here that you need to consider is something like queen takes, and then taking one of the rooks. And it's still a hard labor to win this. So eventually what I was hoping to get is that after bishop g7 we may be able to play this right away. Because what I'm trying to say is that although bishop h6 does create a mate threat, it actually forces them to bring in an extra defender. Whereas after knight g5 this is not the case, and the problem for them now is that if I play a random rook move, well, there is a check here for starters. And if I come this way, well, actually, I may be proven to be wrong here, because I was hoping to use this fork that I can't do now. So let's just go back to this position for a second, because it may turn out that bishop h6 is best. And after rook c7, well, technically speaking, after knight g5 queen takes, that's a winning position, and in fact one of the lines in that way too. So let's just settle it at that this is correct, but you need to conduct the attack even after that very forcefully. Okay. So running the rook c7 knight g5, let me just think for a second here. Yeah, because the main motive is always gonna be this check here if I move the rook literally anywhere now. So I firmly believe that we found the winning variation. Now, none of it happened in the game because they played here king h8. What to do now?
Okay. So I want to continue with the attack, obviously, rather than worrying too much about the knight down there. So
yes, let's not discuss queen takes c2 here. You can always keep it as an emergency exit. If all else fails, you go for it.
A rook cliff would be really nice now. I'm wondering if I have time. I don't think I do, because there's a queen check on d1 if I move my rook out the way.
Yeah, plus I'm not seeing where you want to put the rook where it's not on prey.
they're all covered, aren't they? Okay, let's look at obvious moves like captures and checks. I don't think I have any good checks, so I'm just gonna look at quickly at knight takes f6. But
Very
I mean,
counterintuitive move, isn't it?
yeah, because then queen takes, and I think I'm running out.
Yes,
So
yeah. So
in
let's
that
go
case,
on. Let's go on to
yeah.
threats.
Okay, so threats. So let's look at the bishop because I think the bishop might be. I'm not even sure. Actually, yeah, his rook has to stay protecting his bishop. So I think if I go bishop h6, then
What's
I
your
was
threat?
thinking bishop takes rook or knight takes rook.
Okay, so bishop h6, rook g8.
I was actually looking at taking the bishop, but I'd have to take it with the queen, and that trades the queen, so that's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so
that's
maybe not
that's when
bishop h6.
you ditch it. We don't swap
Yeah,
queens.
yeah. What else? So if I can't pull the bishop in a good way, then maybe the. Hmm. So the other piece I could look at taking is knight takes rook, but I don't know what that. My knight up there is what I want to use to.
Good
I mean,
thinking. By the way, just for the record, I don't see anything wrong with knight f8 here. It creates a mate in one thread. I must take it back, and after queen takes c2, it seems like. But then again, bishop c3 is probably going to hurt us on both exchange. Oh no, because then we have bishop b2. Queen g7.
nice.
Oh, see, this is why we are not pinching material. All of a sudden we lost the game because of the mate thread down here and the bishop is hanging. So let's not pinch material.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to correct myself on this one. Knight takes f8 would be horrendous.
Mm. Yeah, so another threat that I could possibly make is queen to, but not h6 because the bishop comes to g7, so maybe queen h5.
Now, if you that's what the threat you are aiming to do, why wouldn't you retreat then?
Because if I retreat, can't he just take bishop takes knight straight away?
Bishop takes?
Do I have a threat there?
Queen is hanging, knight is hanging.
Yeah, so no good.
That looks tempting to me.
Oh, does it?
The other move that I was hoping that we would spot was bishop g5. Because the point of this move obviously is that the f6 bishop is the main defender, and once that's eliminated, we are looking really good in an attacking scenario like this. It's mate in one thread here. Now rook d1 can come with the tempo. This is hanging, and potentially once that's taken, the rook lift becomes doable too.
Does he have to take the bishop on g5?
What else do you propose? Given that it's attacked by 3, guarded by 2, and you can't possibly defend it, and it's pinned.
Yeah, you probably have to take it. Yeah, okay.
I'm inclined to believe. Okay, so let's have a look at how we would continue this business from here. Because this is actually nowhere near obvious. I can see a very strong attacking concept here for white that I really like. And I would like you to find it too. It's not a forced win yet, or not what we humans would consider a forced win. If I turn the computer on, my suggestion is that my expectation is that it will come up with an 8 to 9 plus to white.
Okay. I'm looking at checks first of all, and queen check.
Yeah, very good. Queen check here, and would be a very good attacking move here, Domenic. In the spirit of bringing all guys to the party. But that's probably not the right way to put it now, because then you will be looking at rook a d1, which is not the correct move.
Previously, I couldn't bring my rook to e5, but I can now. Although e5, it doesn't really have a good path to the king because my knight's on.
Correct.
e5.
So can you just push that guy a little bit further up?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Maybe one more square.
Yep.
East.
Rook e6 threatening rook g6 mate in 2. That's gonna cut it.
Yeah. I don't know why I don't even look at those things. Like in my games lately as well, sometimes I miss obvious moves.
Okay. So that's gonna be it for the time being. But before we move on, I would like to go back to the original concept of what we are doing here, which is that we want to play this opening so that we can get into these very juicy positions, Domenic. So remember, please, although I have already sent this file to you, that against the Caro-Kann we are going to take c4. This is the so-called Panov-Botvinnik attack, and d6 knight f3 we take on d5. I'm going to show you how to play the very annoying e takes d5 line. The reason why I call it annoying is because I don't like to play anything that is symmetrical, but we will have a very good way to get out of that. And if knight takes, then we play bishop c4. Please note that bishop d3 is another legit variation. The point of bishop c4 is that in the main line after rook e1 here, the stock standard developing move b6 is actually very, very bad due to knight takes d5, e takes, and bishop b5, followed by queen a4, granting white a huge attack, or rather pressure, I should say. This was the stem game Botvinnik-Alekhine that I'm going to show you next week, because we shall learn from the classics after all. So that's just a bit of a background story on the opening, and I would like to have a look at your tactics.
Yep.
However, I will probably not be able to display it on the screen because I think that my recorder is not set for that. So let me just have a quick look. So I might call off the recording part of our lesson here. Let me just have a look, please. Oh no, I can actually bring it up by the looks of things. No, I can't. Okay, so I'm going to call off the video recording here, but I want to have a look at your style analysis anyway, or your tactics. So I'm going to stop the recording.